This is the RAB Mythic Ultra 180. I bought this a year ago and I love it to bits, and here's all my thoughts, all everything I've put it through and why I reckon you should buy one. Alright, this is the RAB Mythic Ultra 180. So I'll talk about a few of its features, but yeah, it should be pretty easy for you to find online, and then more importantly, like my experience with it and why I love it so much. So as you'll find on the website, it's European hydrophobic down, but what separates the RAB Mythic Ultra 180 and 360 bags from all the others is what they call tilt, their thermo-ionic lining technology, which I think in the most layman's terms is an emergency blanket basically on the inside of the bag, on the lining of it, which means they can use a lot less down to have a really cool insulating bag. So I bought the RAB Mythic Ultra 180. It's called the 180 because it has 180 grams of down, and they have another bag, the 360, which is just double the down, 360 grams of down. The 180, this bag weighs 400 grams all up, so it's incredibly small, whereas the 360 weighs, I think, around 600 grams, so a bit heavier. And a couple of the features are different of that as well. So the 180 has a quarter zipper, and the 360 has a sort of half-length zipper, which is sort of what you get with a bit of trade-off, and probably the only thing which makes the 180 kind of hard to get in and out of. It's pretty tight, it's pretty cozy, but that's what you get for 400 grams. And also 400 grams sleeping bag, rated down to 0 degrees comfort. I think -2 is like end range, and I think -8 I think is the like extreme limit. And the 360 Ultra, double check it, but I think goes to like -18 or something like that. But yeah, the main difference is one has double the down, so it's designed for cooler climates or someone who runs a bit colder, and yeah, it has a half-length zipper. Another really cool feature that I really like on them is the zipper. The little end plastic is actually glow in the dark, so it's easy to find when you're tucked into your sleeping bag at night because it glows there, but doesn't sort of keep you awake, it doesn't get in the way or anything. And of course, they're both a mummy shape design. Otherwise, with my experience, this won't take me long to get through, but I'll talk about sort of how I find its warmth, how I find its durability, what it's like in terms of packability, and then what it's like comfort-wise. So starting with warmth, it is rated down to 0 degrees for comfort, that is the 180. I feel like it's more comfy around 2 degrees. But yeah, it is rated lower. It's interesting to get used to sleeping. I'll come back to that in terms of comfort, but it does take a little bit of getting used to with sleeping in it. I find 0 degrees comfortable with a liner. So I always wear the Cocoon Silk Mummy Liner, which on the back of that they reckon adds 5 degrees to your sleeping bag. I'm not so sure about that, but it definitely makes the sleeping experience in the Mythic Ultra 180 so much more enjoyable. It gives you a little bit more warmth, and that little bit of extra weight actually makes a big difference as well. I haven't had this anywhere near -8 degrees. Maybe I've been around like -1, -2, and I've never felt cold. So in terms of its warmth, it definitely does what it says it's going to do. When it comes to durability, I've had no problems with durability at all. I haven't had to do any repair work on the inside or outside of the bag. Touching it, it feels like it's going to tear at the slightest look at anything sharp, but yeah, it feels incredible. The hydrophobic down is really incredible as well. I've been in a few really wet places For one, when I slept in a tent on Cone Ridge or Cone Peak back in New Zealand, and when we traversed the Malmturks in County Galway, Ireland. Yeah, super incredibly wet, and the sleeping bag never wetted out. And I've always made sure to air it out and store it with the storage bag they come with, or just hang it out on like a on some stairs or something where it can breathe really well. Weight and packability. Well, it's the main reason I bought this bag. The bag only weighs 400 grams and it packs down to nothing. In this bag at the moment, it comes with this dry sack from RAB. There's a nice little pull handle on it, which is really nice because you can grab the bag, sleeping bag, and the dry bag comes in and pull it out without feeling like you're gonna tear anything. But inside this bag, for the exact same size, I can actually get my Xped Ultra 3R sleeping mat, my sleeping bag, my silk liner, and a pillow from Cedar Summit. I can get all that into here, which is incredible. My entire sleep system literally is that size, and I have to do another video on my whole sleep system that I'm using for Antipode, because yeah, I can't imagine doing anything else in terms of it being so efficient with space and weight. So in terms of what you're looking at for space to weight ratio, I haven't found anything online or anywhere else which matches it. Anything which goes down to the same temperature is bulky, it's heavier, doesn't have that tilt, that thermoionic lining technology that RAB use, so they have to use more down. Anything that is the same weight, because there are sleeping bags, which I think there's a couple that are lighter, they don't go anywhere near the same temperatures as the Mythic Ultra 180, and yeah, they're more of like a sort of summer season bag, whereas I'm using this as kind of like a 3-season and shoulder season sleeping bag, thanks to the silk liner and also merino leggings and thermals. So that's, yeah, weight and packability, next to none. It is incredible, and that was my main draw into the sleeping bag, plus it having such a good range of temperature. Comfort, I mentioned it earlier. Because it's only 400 grams, when you're sleeping in it, you can't even feel it. You can't feel it on you, so you don't get that like comfort factor of having that weight. But yeah, once you get used to the fact there's nothing on you, it is really comfy sleeping bag, and you can kind of cuddle into it. But once you take it out of your sleeping bag, of course, like all of the down bags take a little while to fluff out so the down can expand and get some air between it. What else did I write? And I always wear my liner in the sleeping bag as well, which adds like an extra bit of comfort, but also is really important for hygiene as well. You won't have to wash your sleeping bag nearly as much if you're wearing a liner. That can take the bulk of all the dirty feet and sweaty body going into it each night when you're in the hills or bikepacking or whatever you're doing. So yeah, bear in mind the first time you sleep in it, it's going to be pretty strange to have such little weight on you. When I have been really cold hopping into the sleeping bag, it does take a little bit to warm up, but again, you can really feel the sort of emergency blanket that they've woven onto the inside, that tilt, working. You can feel it once you start to produce a little bit of warmth. You can feel it radiating back to you, just exactly like an emergency blanket does. Not quite on the same level, but you can definitely feel it radiating onto you. And yeah, once then, it feels like a little magical cocoon, and once you're all cinched up. It has a couple of cinches to lock you in, so it's got a cinch and an extra bit of material with down in it that can sort of lock in around your neck. And then of course the hood cinch, and on cold nights you can really feel the difference that closing all that in makes. Yeah, you just lose so much heat from there, and all hooking that up just makes the whole experience and the comfort in cold climates so much better. The quarter zipper, again, in terms of comfort, it's not quick to get in or out of, but again, that's what you get for being super light. Easiest way to shave some weight off that sleeping bag was to get rid of a zipper. So a small trade-off really. If it was a big deal for you, the 360 has a half zipper, much easier to get in and out of. Also means you can have the bag a little more open when you're sleeping if you need to, if it's really warm. And a sleeping bag which is probably going to go and be more of like a 4-season sleeping bag depending on where you are, for only an extra couple hundred grams. So depending on where you're at on weight, it's not much of a trade-off, and still packs down to nothing. Not quite as small as the 180, but pretty small. They do pack down really well. The last thing I suppose I should mention is like where I've tested the sleeping bag. So I've tested, been sleeping in this New Zealand, Scotland, and Ireland so far. So some pretty wet and cold places to be fair, and it's been incredible. In New Zealand, I've been tenting and in sort of the New Zealand dock huts, and otherwise Ireland and Scotland have all just been in a tent and sleeping on the Exped Ultra 3R mat, which has a rating of down to -5 for insulation. Just to give a bit of an idea of ballpark of what I've been sleeping on top of, because it's what is underneath you, which is really important for insulation. I think that's it. I love this sleeping bag. I'd recommend buying one. Obviously the big off-put is that, are they worth their prices? Are they really good enough? And I think, yeah, every penny I've spent on this was 100% worth it. When I did buy it, I was scouring online and a New Zealand place had it 20% off, and so that was a no-brainer. It made it way more affordable, but would happily pay full price if I had to buy a new one, having tested it and tried it out. Choice.